Adisa was known far and wide for her unmatched beauty, but her appearance wasn't her only remarkable quality. She was a woman of determination and intelligence, having built a thriving trade empire in her village. Through years of hard work, she had accumulated great wealth, becoming one of the most successful traders in the region. The people of her village admired her for her sharp business mind and respected her for her generosity, as she often helped the less fortunate. Despite her accomplishments, Adisa's heart carried a heavy burden. Though she had many admirers, suitors who flocked to her were more interested in her fortune than her heart. They praised her beauty and wealth, but she could sense their eyes lingering on her possessions, not on her soul. Each time a man asked for her hand in marriage, his promises of love were hollow, his eyes gleaming with the thought of the riches he would inherit. This left Adisa disillusioned and lonely, yearning for someone who would love her for who she truly was. The years passed and Adisa's frustration grew. She watched as her friends married for love and began their own families, while she, despite her success, remained alone. Her wealth had become a curse, drawing shallow suitors who only saw her as a prize to be won. One evening, as she stood on her balcony overlooking the village, she made a decision. She would leave this life behind, if only for a while, and live as a simple woman, perhaps in a place where no one knew her name or her fortune. She could find the love she longed for. Adisa's decision to hide her identity did not come easily. Over the years, she had encountered countless men, each one charming at first but disappointing in the end. The wealthier the suitor, the more arrogant and entitled he seemed. They would arrive in her village dressed in fine clothes, riding on horses decorated with gold, thinking that their appearance alone would win her heart. But Adisa saw through their packets. One such suitor, a merchant named Olumide, came to her door, bearing lavish gifts. He spoke in flowery words, praising her beauty and wealth, yet he never once asked about her hopes or dreams. Adisa tested him, asking him how he would treat her if she were a simple woman without the riches that surrounded her. His response, a laugh followed by a boast about his own riches, told her all she needed to know. Like all the others, Olumide cared only for what he could gain from her. Another suitor, a prince from a distant kingdom, tried to win her affection by promising her a life of luxury. He spoke of grand palaces, jewels, and fine silks, but when Adisa asked him if he would stay with her if all of it disappeared, he faltered. His hesitation revealed his true intentions. Adisa grew more disheartened with each failed proposal. She began to wonder if true love existed at all, or if every man who came her way would only see her as a possession. It was then that her resolve solidified. She would leave and become someone else, hiding her name and wealth in search of love she deserved. Late one night, as the village lay quiet under the glow of the full moon, Adisa packed a small bag with only the essentials, clothes, a few tools, and enough money to start a modest life elsewhere. She looked around her luxurious home one last time, knowing that she would leave it behind for an unknown future. The decision was final. She would go far from the village where her name and wealth were known, and she would live as a simple woman, free from the expectations and greed of others. She dressed in plain, worn clothes, blending into the night. As she walked through the village streets, the familiar faces of her people were asleep in their homes, unaware that the woman they admired was slipping away. As she reached the village gate, her heart pounded with both excitement and fear. What would life be like without her status and riches? Would she find the love she sought, or would the world continue to judge her by what she had instead of who she was? With a deep breath, Adisa passed through the gate, leaving her life behind. She traveled for days, crossing rivers and forests until she reached a small village nestled by a river far from her home. She had forgotten about her old life. There, she introduced herself as Zuri, a humble weaver. No one knew her past, and no one suspected that the simple woman standing before them was once a powerful and wealthy trader. For the first time in her life, Adisa, now Zuri, felt free. In her new village, Zuri quickly settled into the simple life. She rented a small hut on the edge of the village and bought a loom to weave baskets and fabrics for the local market. Her hands, once used to signing contracts and counting coins, now worked with fibers and threads. Despite her initial uncertainty, she found peace in this new lifestyle. Her days were filled with the rhythmic hum of weaving, and for the first time in years, she felt invisible, no longer the focus of greedy eyes or hollow words. The villagers welcomed her with curiosity. Zuri's skill at weaving quickly became the talk of the market, and soon people began to buy her work. Her humble nature made her well liked, though some wondered about the mysterious past of the beautiful newcomer. Zuri, however, kept her story vague, saying she had come from a faraway place in search of a simpler life. She was careful not to reveal too much, always dodging questions about her past or family. In this small, quiet village, Zuri believed she could finally escape the men who sought only wealth. Yet, in the back of her mind, she knew that hiding her identity was only a temporary solution. As the days passed, she remained cautious, determined to find someone who would love her for herself, even if they never knew her real name. Zuri's days followed a peaceful routine. She would rise early in the morning, herding goats with the village women before returning to her loom. By noon, she would sit at the marketplace, selling her woven goods and enjoying the simple chatter of the villagers. Unlike her previous life, there were no long negotiations or business deals, just honest work and friendly exchanges. The people were kind, and she was slowly becoming a part of the village, though always remaining slightly apart due to the mystery of her arrival. In the evenings, Zuri often walked by the river, watching the fishermen cast their nets and the sun setting over the water. It was during one of these walks that she first noticed Kato, a quiet, hard-working fisherman. He stood alone, pulling his boats ashore with powerful arms. His movements were slow and deliberate, and though he was not as flashy or bold As the suitors she had known before, there was something about him that drew her attention. Over time, Zuri began to notice Kato more often. Zuri and Kato's paths crossed regularly in the marketplace. He would come to sell his fish while she sold woven baskets. Though their exchanges were brief at first, just polite greetings, they soon began to talk more. Kato was quiet but observant, and Zuri found comfort in his simple conversation. He spoke of the river and the changing seasons, the subtle rhythms of life that Zuri had never noticed in her former world of wealth and power. One evening, as they both walked along the river bank, Zuri felt a connection growing between them. They spoke about life in the village, their daily routines, and their dreams. Kato never asked about her past, and Zuri appreciated that he seemed to respect her privacy. And though his words were few, they were always thoughtful and genuine. For the first time in years, Zuri felt that someone was seeing her, not as a wealthy merchant or a beautiful woman, but as a person. Still, Zuri couldn't help but wonder if Kato's interest would change if he knew the truth. Would he still be drawn to her if he discovered she was not the humble weaver she pretended to be? These questions lingered in her mind. Even as her feelings for Kato deepened, she longed to trust him, but the fear of betrayal held her back, making every conversation feel both exciting and dangerous. As weeks turned into months, Zuri and Kato's connection grew stronger. They often found themselves meeting by the river, exchanging stories and learning about each other's lives. Zuri's initial hesitation began to fade, and she found herself looking forward to these quiet moments with Kato. His presence was calming, and their conversations, though simple, were filled with an understanding that Zuri had never experienced before. One day, as they sat by the river, Kato shared a story from his childhood, how he had learned to fish from his father, who had passed away when Kato was still young. The responsibility of providing for his family had fallen on his shoulders, and though life had been hard, he found peace in the steady rhythm of the river. Zuri listened intently, her heart softening towards him. Here was a man who valued hard work, honesty, and family, qualities she had longed for in a partner. As their friendship deepened, Zuri began to see Kato not just as a kind fisherman, but as someone she would trust. Yet the weight of her secret identity still hung over her. She wondered how long she could keep pretending to be someone she wasn't. The fear of losing Kato's respect, or worse, his affection, kept her from revealing the truth. For now, she told herself it was enough to enjoy his company and the quiet bond they were building by the river. Despite Zuri's best efforts to blend into the village, rumors about her began to spread. Some of the villagers found it strange that she had arrived with no family, no clear past, and such impressive skills. Her weaving was unmatched, and though she never spoke of her former life, whispers circulated about where she had come from and why she had chosen their village as her new home. One afternoon, while Zuri was setting up her stall in the marketplace, she overheard two women talking nearby. They spoke in hushed tones, but their words reached her ears. "She's hiding something, that much is clear," one woman said. No one just comes here from nowhere without a story. I bet she's running from something or someone." The other woman nodded, casting a suspicious glance in Zuri's direction. Though Zuri had expected some curiosity, the growing speculation unnerved her. She feared that if the rumors continued to spread, someone might dig deeper into her past. Worse still, she worried that Kato might hear the whispers and begin to doubt her. The thought of losing his trust, especially after everything they had shared, made her anxious. As much as she longed to come clean, the time didn't feel right. For now, she would have to continue playing the role of Zuri, the humble weaver, and hope that the rumors would fade. While Zuri navigated the growing curiosity surrounding her, another complication entered her life. Mosi, a wealthy merchant who frequently visited the village to trade goods. Mosi was known for his arrogance and wealth, and when he first laid his eyes on Zuri, he was immediately captivated by her beauty and skill. Unlike the villagers who accepted her as a humble weaver, Mosi was suspicious of Zuri from the start. He sensed there was more to her than she let on, and his curiosity quickly turned into an obsession. Mosi began visiting Zuri's stall at the market more frequently, buying her goods and making thinly veiled compliments about her appearance. Zuri, sensing his interest, kept her distance, but Mosi was persistent. One day, he approached her directly, boasting about his wealth and offering her a partnership. "A woman with your skills shouldn't waste her talents here," he said, his voice dripping with confidence. "I could make you rich beyond your dreams." Zuri politely declined, but Moses' persistence only grew. He wasn't just interested in her skills, he wanted Zuri for himself. His attention made Zuri uncomfortable, but she also knew that Mosi was a powerful figure in the trading world. If she rejected him too harshly, she risked making an enemy. Worse still, she feared that Moses' interest would draw even more attention to her hidden identity, putting her entire plan at risk. As Moses' advances toward Zuri became more obvious, they did not go unnoticed by Kato. Though Kato tried to keep his distance from village gossip, he couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy every time he saw Mosi approach Zuri at the market. The wealthy merchant's arrogant demeanor and constant presence around her troubled Kato deeply. Despite his growing feelings for Zuri, Kato began to doubt himself. How could a simple fisherman like him compete with a man of Moses' wealth and influence? One evening, while walking by the river, Kato found himself questioning his relationship with Zuri. He admired her hard work and kindness, but he also feared that she might be drawn to a man who could offer her more than he ever could. Mosi had made his intentions clear, and Kato couldn't help but wonder if Zuri would eventually choose the life of luxury and security that the merchant promised. During their next meeting, Kato's unease showed. He was quieter than usual, his words careful and measured. Zuri sensed the change immediately, but Kato brushed off her concerns, insisting that everything was fine. Still, the distance between them grew, and Zuri began to fear that Moses' presence was pushing Kato away. Her heart ached, knowing that the longer she kept her true identity hidden, the more complicated things would become.